I've been asked today, which is Memorial Day of 2009, to speak of some of my Army experiences that I had during World War II. I'll not bother you too much with my first experiences that I had of fighting in Italy for almost 4 months, but I would like to call your attention that sometimes if you ever go to the Aberdeen Proving Grounds, you can see the big gun on the right as you enter the gates. It's called Anzio. We give it that name because we were fighting in Anzio, Italy, and that is where the gun used to shoot at us at nighttime. After this excursion of fighting in Italy, I was sent down to the southern part of Italy and took some amphibious training to make the invasion of southern France, which happened in the middle of August. Which happened on the 25th of September. I received my first wound in my right arm while hiding behind a tree to give me some shelter. Unfortunately, a tree burst got me, and several pieces of shrapnel entered my right hand and arm. After some fighting up the Rhone Valley in France, I had some rest and relaxation time the early part of November, and went back on the line the night of November the 25th. Didn't fight, but only about an hour while I was digging at our foxhole for the evening. A shell landed behind me, and this caused me to be hospitalized for almost a month. I was released from the hospital on the 28th of December and joined my outfit back on January the 2nd. I speak of my outfit, and this emblem that I'm wearing is the emblem of the 45th Division. I was fought for the Company C of the 157th Regiment of the 45th Division. Joining my outfit on the 2nd of January, it was in the Vosges Mountains, which is a range of mountains attached to the Alps, and runs parallel west and east north of the Alps. In January, the snow was anywhere from knee-deep to waist-deep, and that's the way we were fighting from the January the 2nd up to the morning of the 15th. We were told to take the hill at all costs. As we proceeded up the hill that morning, by 11 o'clock, we were giving the charge of fighting in any direction, meaning that we were surrounded. This happened at 11 o'clock in the morning, and of course we had our rations we'd taken up from the night before, and we had something to eat from our 3 meals on the day of the 15th. However, since that happened and we didn't get out that night and were surrounded, we had nothing to eat for the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. We did, however, have snow, so we were not bothered with having anything to drink. About 5 o'clock, or by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the Germans came over with their Red Cross patches on their arm, waving a white flag, stating that they thought that we ought to surrender, as they had us surrounded for this period of time. Being short of food, short of ammunition, short of everything, that we had exhausted all of our things that we had, and sometimes we were even being fired upon by our own people because our radios had gone dead, and we had no way of telling them to stop firing in our direction. So we decided that we would make a break for it, and we lined up to go down around the south side of the hill. And we did not know it, but they had machine guns set up there, and they killed the first 2 guys making the retreat. And they ordered us back to our holes. We all went back, stayed there until the SS troopers, the boys that were the German infantry troops that captured us. It was well known that the SS did not take prisoners, and we knew that, and we were all pretty well scared knowing this fact. However, by 5 o'clock they came, got the last group of us. There were 468. Some 20, some were wounded, and around 20 some more were killed. Some were left behind to help bury the people there on the hill, and the rest of us were marched off to a barn that night. They did, however, give us a loaf of bread among 6 or 7 or 8 people. I don't remember exact number. Each day that we were marched in for 3 or 4 days till we came to a train station, and there we loaded on the train, 40 men to a boxcar. Boxcars are a lot smaller than what ours are here in the United States. There was no room in that for the 40 people, that only 20 could lay down at any given time and 20 would remain standing. We were given a small 5-gallon bucket, for that was to be our bath, use our bathroom facilities. This was, each day the train would stop in the morning. And they would take the barbed wire off the car and let us get out and do whatever we wanted to do for about 15 or 20 minutes and move your legs anyway. Then back on the car, close the door, wrap up the thing again with barbed wire, and then another 24 hours went by before the same procedure would happen for 3 or 4 days that we were on the train. But this time we landed at another, our first prison camp, and it was Stalag 11B in Falling-Basel, Germany. I should go back and tell you that I was captured in Germany, at Reipersweiler, Germany, and the first time that I was marched through, which was only about 7 or 8 miles north of Reipersweiler, was a town called Bitch, B-I-T-C-H-E, Bitch, Germany. This period of time I spent in 11B was only about 2 or 3 weeks, and nothing much happened there. And until one day they marched us out to the railroad tracks and loaded us on the railroad cars again. And there the same procedure for the next 2 or 3 days that we had had previously on riding on the train. And there they unloaded us, and we were in a town called Limburg, Germany. I think this is where they said Limburger cheese was first made. And then we were in a direct line between London and Berlin, and so planes were flying over us all day long. It was a sight to see that in the morning you see the bombers start over, and they would last till about 12:30, and then it'd be about a half-hour break, and those when you saw at 9 o'clock flying over had dropped their bombs and were flying back. This was quite an experience to do this. There was also a V-2 rocket launching place that was right there. These were the bombs that went straight up, then flew straight across and landed at London. Every day I had to go on every other day you had a buddy system, and I had to go on a work detail. The beds that we had and the barracks that we slept in were very cold, because this was January through April and there was no heat in the barracks. There was also, the beds were only about 5 foot 4 feet long, with a 4-inch board all the way around encased. 2 men to a bed, so you had to sleep in the fetal position. And when you wanted to turn over, you had to wake your buddy up so you both could turn over. We had no mattress, and we did each have a blanket, which we used one under us and one over us. And our body heat kept us warm for it. One of the two main things that I would like to mention that happened in a prison camp is diarrhea and lice. Every one of us had diarrhea, and the latrine that they fixed up for us was just a big long slit trench, and with a log sawed in half, and that's what you sat on. And we all sat, and the trench was such so that it was a rectangle, so you could sit back to back. And most of the time the latrine was pretty full, because all we had was either a piece of bread or a bowl of soup a day. I weighed around 72 kilos. I think that would be somewhere in the 150-pound range. And I know when I got back to London and they weighed me in the hospital, I weighed 115. So I lost that 40 pounds somewhere. I don't know where it was. But between the lice and when we had a day off, we would take our shirts off and kill the lice, because the lice would go around your neck and around your waist. I guess for about 3 or 4 years after I was discharged, you could still see the scars where the lice had bit me so many times around on my stomach. Finally and I worked on every other day out of detail, and my buddy would work every other day. We had one Red Cross package that was delivered to us. 12 or 16 men went to the box, and it was only supposed to be for 4. So we got only about a third or a fourth of what we were supposed to receive. I did see some empty boxes when I was working in a warehouse with Red Cross boxes that never got across the road to us. On April 13th, 14th, something like that, President Roosevelt died, and they called all of us 8,000 or 9,000 Americans out on the Hill, and we had a prayer for the men in service, the ones who had killed, ones who were still being held prisoners, and the people at home who were holding up the home front. I can remember hearing that colonel giving that prayer that day. A couple boys went out and they sang a couple hymns, and then we now had a closing prayer and were dismissed. That was at, let's say, middle of April, and on the morning of April the 26th, the British tanks came through, and they just run right over top of the barbed wire fences that had us enclosed, and they had on the boxes and cartons of rations of oxtail soup, and we all broke into those, and we would eat them, and then we'd go off to the side and regurgitate, and because their stomachs were so that they wouldn't take this. We'd eat some more, and we just kept eating and throwing up. And finally, 3 days later, I was taken to an airport and flew in a C-47s over to England, 25 men to a plane. There I was placed near Oxford, England, in a hospital. I think it was the 34th General Hospitals. And about a month I was sent down to Rome, and my boat came into Southampton, England, and I arrived home in June. Shortly, I had a 60-day furlough being an ex-POW, and I took that in Atlantic City and some of it at home. Then I was sent to Camp Lee, Virginia, to wait discharge because I had 68 points. Your point system was arrived by having a Purple Heart and being wounded twice. I received 10 points. For the four battles that I was in, I received another 20 points. And that, and you got 1 point for being in the service each month, and 2 points for being overseas. So my grand total was 68 points, and they started discharging them with 75. So all I had to do was wait for 70 to 65, 70. Then they went to 65 to 70 in October, and then they dropped it from 65 to 70, and I had 68, and I got discharged in November. That was my Army experience that I had.